Greetings, Jabrowski. It seems the good old US&A is up to its colon in the usual imperial bullshit. Just so many nations and peoples to lay waste in the name of freedom and democracy and capital gains, and so little time. Fortunately, by kicking Grandpa off Medicaid and making sure the little ghetto brats die before old enough for lifetime support in the state pen, your government can accumulate enough firepower to devastate other poor folks a half world away. And rest assured, no expense is too great when it comes to subsidizing for-profit contractors to clean up the mess made by your tax-fed military. But of course, this is not the reason offered by your leaders for their casus belli. They wave the bloody shirt of victims of terrorism, and while this is an all-too-real tragedy, rest assured there are some victims worth avenging and some to be ignored, just as there are terrorists worthy of superpower obliteration and others worthy of a wink, nod, and shrug. Or a choking cough. I have here a little item from a couple of years ago from the New York Daily News of Monday, December 16, 2013, headlined, Mexican Cartels Use Social Media to Post Gruesome Victim Photos, Sexy Selfies. It gives the following story by Deborah Hastings. The brazen brutality of Mexican cartels knows no limits. Now their bloody handiwork is up on social media for the entire internet to see. Cartel thugs, including one who proudly identifies himself as an assassin, have become increasingly savvy in the social media universe, posting photographs and videos of themselves, decapitating victims with chainsaws and machetes, wielding gold-plated assault weapons, pouting in sexy poses, showing off tricked-out vehicles, and warning civilians not to snitch on them to authorities. One of the most blatant is a Knights Templar cartel member who calls himself Broly and posts photo after photo of himself in sexually suggestive poses, as well as images in which he brandishes handguns and assault weapons. In one so-called selfie, taken inside a vehicle and obtained by the Daily News, he captures a kidnap victim who is blindfolded and stuffed in the back seat. In another photo obtained by the News, the kidnapped victim's body, along with the remains of another man, are later seen by the side of a road in Michoacan, where the Knights Templar organized crime syndicate controls virtually that entire Mexican state. They do this to intimidate us, said a news source who belongs to a self-defense group that has been battling the violent cartel since February. But we are not afraid. We will continue to fight. The cartels also use social media to track their detractors and to monitor the activities of armed militias. Civilians in many parts of the country now patrol neighborhoods because widespread corruption among law enforcement and military units means villagers are on their own against rampaging drug traffickers. Here's a screen grab from the opening sequence of a video on Facebook, which declined to remove it last month but then relented. This shows a Mexican woman being beheaded by a self-proclaimed member of the Los Zetas cartel. Okay? The cartels are out of control and no one has been able to get a handle on reining them in, said Ken Rejock, a former Florida lawyer who laundered money for Colombian drug cartels, served federal prison time, and now works as consultant. Nonetheless, flouting themselves on Facebook is a pretty gutsy move, even for narcotics kingpins. It's so ballsy for these people to put this stuff up there. It's like thumbing your nose at the government. It's like saying, come get me, Rejock said. Mexico, like much of Latin America, has been slow in adopting cyber laws regulating criminal activity posted on the internet. At the same time, cartel members have grown savvy enough to create a string of false account identities to post their horrible deeds and boast of their criminal skills. So as Facebook pages get taken down because of nefarious content, others sprout up. Broly posts photos in which he puckers for the camera with his shirt provocatively unbuttoned. He also puts up images bragging of being handsome and an assassin. A variety of account names are used. Facebook ignited a global uproar when a beheading video was allowed to remain on the massive social network in October. On screen, a man warned against snitching and said he was acting on behalf of the Zetas, Mexico's most brutal cartel. The gruesome footage was eventually taken down after viewers and political heavyweights, such as British Prime Minister David Cameron, vehemently objected. Facebook officials, in written statements to several media outlets, clarified their policy regarding graphic content and said the site would ban images that improperly and irresponsibly glorify violence. But it's not all darkness and destruction. Drug lords also use the internet as a public relations tool. The Gulf Cartel posted YouTube footage showing convoys of its trucks laden with humanitarian supplies to victims of Hurricane Ingrid in northeastern Tamaulipas, where vast numbers of villages and roads were wiped out in September and it has received more than 450,000 views. The images, some of them in sepia tones, were set to so-called narco-hip-hop music and showed hundreds of villagers lining up in the rain to get bottled water and coffee brought in by Gulf Cartel members who have heart, according to one video caption. The crime syndicates are savage, but not stupid. As crude of actors as they are, they have a communication strategy, said Eric Olson, Associate Director of the Latin American Program at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in Washington. Part of that strategy is maintaining a bigger-than-life image of high living and heavy bling in a country that is, by and large, very poor. Promoting terror also figures heavily. Intimidation goes with the bravado, Olson said. One way you intimidate is to show a bunch of bodies with Z for Zetas carved on their torsos. It shows your power. Their brazen posts also leave behind a way to diminish their power, Olson said. But that's unlikely to happen, he also said. Law enforcement and public officials would have to go deeper and farther than their current containment methods, which rely heavily on sending federal police and soldiers into cartel strongholds. You have to have a crime-fighting strategy, Olson said. You have to do more than drive around in trucks with big guns, or perhaps fly around with bombers and cruise missiles. Yet, has it yet occurred to you, Tubanetos, that this is exactly the same thing ISIS is doing in its domain across North Syria and Iraq? And what has been the response of the U.S. media? The State Department, Department of Defense, FBI, CIA, NSA. Have there been drone strikes against the Mexican government for harboring terrorists? Joint Special Operations Forces smuggled into Mexico to take out cartel honchos. Angry, impassioned pleas from President Obama that these horrendous deeds be stopped by any means necessary, including U.S. boots on the ground, seeing as how these cartels also operate within the borders of the United States and threaten American citizens. No, none of that. Why the discrepancy, hypocrisy, double standard, and all the rest? Why, because the Zetas and the Knights Templars do not threaten American access to energy resources. They do not challenge the American empire. Because their host nation, in which they live like a parasite infestation out of Alien One, is a safe partner of the U.S. in its own hemisphere. In fact, these ruthless terrorists provide the U.S. consumer with a commodity as much desired as oil, narcotics, which must mean that if ISIS was smart, it would corner oil production in Syria and Iraq and cut a deal with the United States. Then you'd hear never a discouraging word about the Islamical State from President Obama, from the State Department, from the Pentagon, from the Congress of the United States, or any of the alphabet security agencies. Not even a hen peep out of Hillary Clinton. All would be looking the other way and keeping mum about the beheadings, butcherings, and burnings of the human livestock under their power. Oh, sure, there'd be ritual vaporing from the usual asses in Washington, but nothing practical would drop from them into the American pot of state. There would certainly be no calls for formal declarations of war like right-wing pundit Charles Krauthammer openly advocates for Zeta's Muslim counterparts. So now the U.S. will subsidize Jordan's allied bloody revenge, even as it still seeks to overthrow President Assad Jr. in Syria for doing the same thing, to the same people, mind you. Oh, sure, they're his own people, or when those people do it to one of ours, especially a photogenic, clean-cut all-American girl, then it becomes a crime against humanity. It's only right when the U.S. and its allies, its fellow chosen ones, travel halfway around the world and do it to someone else's people. Then brutal retaliation is completely justified, along with collateral damage of non-combatants and the use of chemicals forbidden by international treaty. So, what can be added to all of that? Other than to simply further add, to simply further add, to simply further add, to simply further add. There it comes. Oh, what head chopper comes a knocking on the tube line today? Allo, allo. Quiet that hellfire chanting so I can hear yous. Who is it? Osama bin Laden? The devil, you say? Damn, man, you're going to have the NSA on this channel for show. What you want, dude? This better be good. Do what? You want to say that you're willing to offer your expertise to the Mexican drug cartel so they can do it right against the gringos? After all, it's the centenary of the Plan of San Diego. Well, in the first place, you're dead. But more important than that is the fact, as I just told you, that there are worthy terrorists and unworthy terrorists. And the Zetas just don't make the radar. It's too inconvenient to bomb Mexico, and they're not in the way of us getting their oil. In fact, the Zetas probably sell at cut rate to Chevron to screw with the Mexican government. Free enterprise at work, keep in mind. They could burn a Guatemalan soldier alive, kidnap a Peruvian nun, Behead an Argentine journalist or chop up a French narcotics agent, and no one is going to care. They can even shoot up U.S. streets, and Washington will not care. The rule of law are for those outside the gates of empire. If you didn't understand that, no wonder they finally whacked you.